Hello everyone, DonTheCrown here. As you can see, we've hit the dummy cap here for the game. Not really sure why they cap it at 5 trillion, but this kind of does lead some problems of how we're going to figure out exactly how much damage we're doing over the cap. But there's actually a couple of, there's an easy way to do this. So normally on a normal build, what you would do is you would just attack for 10 seconds, and then you would stop doing damage. You'd wait to see how long this top number remains at 5 trillion. Problem with this particular build is we pretty much have a ramp up period where we're looking at the last 4 seconds of our mana gain. And so if I'm like stopping DPS to click the recount button, there's like maybe like half of a second or a second in there where I'm not actually doing damage. There's kind of an easy fix for this that we can basically just click the buttons down here at the bottom to move our skills around the different things, and won't change what your main skill is. I always do this with my movement skills always on R. This actually persists character to character, so mine's always on R, and as you can see, it's actually bound here to W for some reason. But you know, that's pretty much just how this works. So I'm just gonna put my frost spike here on Q, and we're just going to kind of like spin up here. I'm going to go spin around. We're going to click the stop recount, and then I'm going to attack for 4 seconds. 4, and then we're just going to start attacking. And then we're going to stop at 10 seconds, like I said there. And for every 10 seconds after that is another 5 trillion DPS. So there we go. We stop. So as long as this number remains 5 trillion, we... All right, so 18. So that means we basically have, you know, a lot more damage than 5 trillion. Almost maybe 9 trillion at this point. It's a little bit higher actually than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was 7 trillion. So the, you know, might be 9 trillion, I guess. But yeah, that's even higher than I thought. The big upgrades that we've made, pretty much nothing super duper major. We're just continuing to make improvements here. However, I did switch over to Dagger, mostly because I was interested in looking at shadows. I know a lot of people were trying to convince me to switch over to Icy Blade, but like I just wasn't really feeling that skill. So we switched over to a dagger here that's shadow, shadow, shadow. So lots of shadows. That's probably the big difference. I still think that sword is probably just fine. And in fact, with the additional attack damage here, this one's probably still better than my dagger, but it kind of is what it is. Besides that, just getting like things up to tier 0 has helped a bunch. And then I've gone into my skills and kind of fixed a bunch of stuff that I was kind of, I don't know, holding back on, if you would. So Ice Fission, for example, is a pretty solid support. However, without having a very high like percentage one and without leveling it up, it's not very good, I don't think, comparatively. So I was not using this for a long time. I also switched over to Hardened here as opposed to Haunt. I think both are probably just okay. This pretty much just helps you stay alive. There's a lot of times where you are going to be sitting there and just like spamming your attack. You just kind of want to be face tanking, and having the Hardened buff up during that time does help, like because this buff only lasts for 4 seconds. If you don't have it up from not whirling in the last 4 seconds, it's kind of bad. I also went through and I put some more automation here. So we have activation medium energy shield with cooldown on our biting cold with extended duration. This pretty much keeps our aura of our curse up all of the time. I switched over to Bull's Rage. I'm not necessarily sure this is better than the Mana Boil, but we don't actually have we don't have a life cost on this like you should, because it's going to get activated here by activation medium. So energy shield, we have 0 energy shield all of the time thanks to our no loose ends on our belt. So this just gets triggered whenever it's available, has like no interval on it, which is pretty great. And so with well fought battle, cooldown reduction, and extended duration, this thing's up all of the time, which is great. I don't think I made any changes down here to the auras. My candle, I do have a +1 shadow candle now. The erosion damage when the restoration effect doesn't affect us because we don't have a restoration active. Another physical damage thing here. Might switch out a second candle to something else. I know I do have sealed mana compensation here. Some people ask if this is like very important, because if you take this out, the like sealed mana compensation goes all wild. And what you can just do is you can just add another support onto your Thunder Magus. I have like a ton of stuff here, so I don't have a ton of extra energy to make that work right now. But you can go and do that, and it would, you know, lower down the cost of this, or you can lower down the cost of Cruelty. just by adding more supports if you need to adjust your mana. And besides that, like pretty much just making like upgrades to the gear. My hero memories are still like probably like way too much spell block here. We just keep hitting tier 0 spell block and block. I'd rather have some like mana or something in terms of damage. But I think that long term having block might be pretty useful. Typically at the end of the season, when I'm trying to build up more tankiness, I just go and I slap a whole bunch of block on my memories. I get block on a pedigree as well. So that's probably maybe a long-term type of thing. And just that in deep space, some enemies hit for like an insane amount of physical damage, like 50,000 hits, which, you know, even though we have 20,000 HP of mana now, it's still pretty rough for us. So I don't really know like how people are supposed to even live through these. Deep space does seem pretty mean right now. So we'll see what's going on with that. I'm really just looking to level up here to 99 before I really delve into that. So we're going to just kind of wait for now. And yeah, we're probably also going to be working on slates here coming up pretty soon. We haven't really changed these slates at all. And I might consider switching around like the gain blessings here to a candle or something instead. And then we can like switch around having chili here to like maybe peculiar vibe. And I'm just not really sure exactly what I want to do with everything just yet for the end game. But it's just been having a lot of fun blasting. And yeah, it's been pretty good. Hopefully the video yesterday that we did with the how to mana stacker kind of helped you out a little bit. If you haven't watched that yet, I highly recommend it. I pretty much been telling people that have come in to have me look at their builds that they need to tell me exactly how much mana they're burning before I want to like look at their build, because this is just really important to know. And once again, the way you can tell how much mana you have is pretty simple. You just talk over here, activate the bot, click the damage, scroll down, and then you can look at your critical strike damage. So I'm at 150. And as I spin up here, we can see how much critical strike damage we go up to. So we're about 1710 or so. And so I just pull out the calculator here. Very simple. 1710 minus 150. Divide that by 5 for my gloves. It means I'm getting 312 instances, oh my god, of the buff from my gloves. And I have it at 701 mana, so times 701 means that I'm burning 218,000 mana every 4 seconds. Now, ideally, I think we want to get this number closer to 300,000, simply so that we're able to juice up the, you know, the crit, juice up the flat fizz coming from the shield even faster. Because there's a lot of times, like when you're actually playing the game, you're not going to be sitting still, just hitting the dummy, right? You're going to be moving, you're going to be like running through the maps and stuff. And so you want to be able to keep that critical strike chance up as high as possible so it feels really smooth. And this is why we're going to be keeping crit on our gear here, because we want to be able to try to stay close to 100% crit at all times. Because if you have like 1400 critical strike damage and you don't crit, the damage difference is going to feel very, very, very big. And so we're going to keep the crit high. We're going to try to get our mana burn even higher with more mana and, you know, probably more, maybe more attack speed. I'm not really sure if there's much more attack speed that we can get, but there's definitely a lot more mana left to be on the table. Other things I've been considering getting is going into like the packed page here, getting like an undetermined fate, maybe getting stuff like the acuteness buff or something. I think that going and like buffing up our main skill damage, we're like probably starting to get like close to the end of the line. However, this character kind of has some interesting stuff going on. So your character's skill, individual skills are limited to 15 trillion. So Frostbite itself can't really do more than 15 trillion damage. However, we have Baptism of Purity, which is also hitting for 35% of your non-channeled attack hits. So some of our damage cap right now is coming from this, like pretty much all of the time. I need to do the math of how much that is doing, but this does mean that we have a little bit higher damage cap than other builds. And this also means that if we can find some other skills, like maybe acuteness focus, maybe we'll be able to get it to do some good damage. That could potentially be a second source of pushing this damage cap up closer to having like 30 trillion, maybe even like 45 trillion DPS. And I think that would be pretty crazy to have that much damage. Maybe like push the dragon really, really hard. But hopefully this video helped you out. I'm going to be streaming. I hear that the loot's better or something. Come on by. If you want help, make sure that you tell me how much mana you're burning, and we'll see you guys again soon.